Sound speeds. And ever since Adobe Podcast AI version 2 was announced, I was asked if I would do the same kind of video I did with version number 1. And that is using the microphone on top of a mirrorless or DSLR camera, back up farther and farther away and see how well it processes my sound when I am walking farther and farther away, and then walk back up to camera. But before we get right into the test, and we're not going to waste a whole lot of time, I'm going to point out two things. Number one is no, I am not wearing a lavalier microphone in this. It is going to sound closer because of the way and nature of Adobe Podcast AI. But everything you're going to be hearing is directly from the processing, and I'm going to flip over to the actual camera mic, which is completely raw. It's not going to be normalized or anything. I'm not going to enhance the level, do anything to it. It's the way it came out of the camera. And so I'm going to flip back and forth so you can hear what it started at and what it was processed to. The second thing I'm going to point out is that a few times in this video, I mentioned that I'm going to process the sound in different ways at the end. Unfortunately, Adobe has decided that they want to receive a payment of a credit card or at least something put on there in order for them to release a 7-day trial to you. I'm not about to do that simply because I disapprove of that practice. It's not a trial if they require you to put it on a credit card, even if you're going to cancel right after the trial. I very much disapprove of that particular business strategy, and therefore I'm not going to be doing that. Without further delay, let's get right into our test. The last time I recorded one of these tests, I used the Sony ZV-1 camera because it has a little windscreen type poof thing on top and basically an integrated microphone. But it is a mirrorless camera and it's priced around $650, $700. I don't know what it is in this economy. I bought the thing a while back. Who knows what it was? Anyway, what I do know is that the camera is about 3 feet away from me right now, and I'm hoping it doesn't sound like an SM7B 5 inches away from my mouth like it did with the version 1. So what I'm going to start doing is backing up right now. I'm not speaking overly loud, but I'll be raising my voice up a little bit as I back up. That way you can get an idea of the way it's sounding. Right now I'm about maybe 12 feet away from the camera, something like that. And the place I am right now is known to have critters. It might have, snakes or something like that, and people don't normally go down there, so I'm going to be the guinea pig here. We'll see how it goes. Right now I'm about, I was going to say 15. This is probably closer to 20 feet away. Because if I had a boom, it would be at the edge of the range of my long boom. So I'm going to continue to back up here. We'll see what happens. There is about 20 feet behind the camera. There's the side of the house. So if you're hearing a little bit of an echo or something like that, you're going to be hearing that play off of the house. Hopefully it's not going to be too much. Anyway, so I'm backing up and continue to back up here. I'm not really speaking up overly loud. It's fairly quiet. There's a busy type highway about maybe a mile that direction, and there's a little bit of traffic that you're going to hear going through that, even though it's about 10 a.m. on a workday. So I'm going to continue to back up here, and we'll see at what point I no longer start to sound decent. Now I'm going to tweak the settings as well as I possibly can. I might even process this a few different ways, but we'll definitely do that once I get a little bit closer. But for right now, I'm going to continue to back up here and hopefully not get bitten by anything. As we continue to back up farther and farther away from the camera, as of right now, I'm probably about 50 feet away. Let's see, 20, 30 foot. Yeah, about 50 feet or so away from the camera, maybe even a little more. And again, I'm not speaking up overly loud. I'm trying to see how well my voice carries just the way it is natural. Now, I'm going to continue to back up here. Now I'm closer to about 60 feet and it's not overly crazy loud out here. The loudest thing we have going for us is the birds. And luckily my voice is a little bit deeper than them. Just a little bit though. I can't really exactly continue forward while walking backwards over uneven ground when I don't know what's about back out here. But as right now, I'm probably about 75 feet away. There are 2 cats literally approaching the camera right now. Back up. Okay. So now I'm probably about 100 feet away. And at this point, I'm going to stay here for a second and let you get an idea of the way I sound like when I'm out here. Hopefully you're able to hear my voice really decently. No telling if you are or if you're not. I'm going to start to walk forward here in a moment. And so that way you're going to be able to hear how my voice sounds when I'm on the approach. So I'm going to slowly circle walk this way. And I want you to listen to the sound quality and how it is manipulating the algorithm to make my voice sound better or to make my voice sound audible at all
over the background noise. This is not the intention of Adobe Podcast AI, but we're basically pushing it to its limit to see how well it's going to do. Once I get to about 20 feet away, I'm going to take this part into post and process it a few different ways so you can hear the way it sounds. Actually, you know what? I'll do that as a totally separate segment. That way you'll be able to hear the way it sounds by itself. But for right now, I'm about 30 feet or so away from the camera, and I'm continuing to walk forward, approaching the camera right now, 20 feet away, actually less than that now, probably 15 feet away, 12 feet away right now. And we're moving inside now about 6 feet. And I'm now currently about 3 feet away again, which is where I started to begin with.
Once again, very interesting results. And if you want to do the same kind of experiment or you want to use it to process your own podcast, you can go to podcast.adobe.com. And then if you're not logged in, log in there and then click on Enhance. I think it gives you for free 4 hours of processing per week. At least on one Gmail account. You can switch over to a different Gmail account and activate more if you really want to. But this is what they are offering with the standard setting, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are not necessarily going to be interested, like yours truly, in trying to pay to get them to enhance your audio. I can do all that in post, but personally, I prefer to just record it well to begin with. So those results to me are kind of interesting. Now, the only couple of things I'm going to point out is that the very first syllable, when I started talking at the very beginning, it almost does a rapid fade in. Not a big deal because you're probably going to do voice checks and whatever else. And I mean, it's just the beginning of the processing. If you really are that bothered by it, then say a couple of things at the beginning before you start your podcast and recording. But all things considered, I think it did a pretty decent job. I mean, it's obviously not great when you start to step farther and farther away, but keep in mind, that's not what this thing is intended for. I'm using a very low quality microphone, which is the one built into the Sony ZV-1, and I'm backing up to like 100 feet. And even then, it's got birds, it's got footsteps, it's got just normal noise out there, which you don't hear because it processes all this stuff out, or rather probably doesn't synthesize my voice and the background noise. It just processes my voice. So it's pretty sterile. You would have to add something to it to make it not sound like it's, you're in a vacuum of outer space or something like that. So, I mean, all things considered, I think it's very interesting. It's only going to get better. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this test, and if you would like to see any more tests similar to this in the future. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Soundspeeds, and be sure to tune in the future for more testing of things out there in the world, new and old. And as always, sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.